Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Tuesday the 14th of June 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon we bring you the 5 news items that happened today that you need to know about. Let's jump into it. Story number 1. In short, it was carnage in financial markets today. Fears of much higher interest rates sending economies into recession dominated sentiment. And 2 rough trading days on Wall Street had set the tone for the local market. The ASX S&P 200 finished down at 2.55% today to 6,686 points, though at one stage was down nearly 5%. Energy, technology and materials stocks led the way, but there wasn't a sector that didn't get hit hard. In fact, telcos was the best performing sector. It only fell 1.7%. All the banks suffered. Commonwealth Bank dropped more than 3%. National Australia Bank and Westpac both fell around 4%, and ANZ was off nearly 5%. Iron ore prices fell on concerns about a slowdown in steelmaking in China. That added to the general malaise, and BHP and Rio Tinto finished down around 5%, while Fortescue Metals tumbled more than 8%. Woodside Energy was down nearly 6%, while Santos fell more than 5%. The travel companies were hammered. Webjet was off nearly 9%, while Corporate Travel Management and Qantas both dropped around 7%. There were only a handful of companies that didn't go backwards today, including Computershare, Domino's Pizza and Incitec Pivot. Bond markets were also sold off on fears of much higher interest rates. In fact, the yield on 10-year government bonds pushed above 4%. It really was quite a day. Story number 2. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says China must remove its sanctions on Australian exports before the relationship between the two countries can improve. He was commenting after the defence chiefs from both countries met over the weekend. That was the first high-level dialogue chat in more than 2 years. Mr Albanese said it was China that imposed sanctions and it's China that has changed. And it's China that needs to remove the sanctions. He said that Australia wants to trade with China in a way that benefits both countries. Story number 3. The Star Entertainment Group has provided its final submission to a New South Wales review about whether it's suitable to hold a casino licence in that state. The submission highlights the changes in management and operational reforms at the group, while lawyers for the casino conceded it was open for the New South Wales review to conclude that Star wasn't suitable for a licence when the inquiry began late last year. Things had changed and the group should keep its licence. Some of the former practices, including the China Union Pay scheme that disguised funds that high rollers used to gamble as hotel expenses and avoided regulations, had been closed down, the submission said. And in more unwelcome news for the group, Queensland has just announced an independent review to investigate Star's suitability to run casinos in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast. Story number 4. The US Defense Department has signed a $120 million deal with Lynas Rare Earths to build the country's first commercial rare earths separation facility. It's a coup for Lynas. Rare earths aren't particularly rare and they're used in electric vehicles, wind turbines and consumer electronics, but they are difficult to separate, and mostly separation is done in China. Under the deal, Lynas will mine the rare earths in Australia and then ship them to the US, where processing will take place. The deal follows a 2-year pilot scheme. And finally, story number 5. Well, Wall Street is now in bear market territory after a major sell-off this morning. By the end of the session, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 2.8%. The broad-based S&P 500 had fallen 3.9%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite had dropped 4.7%. Tech stocks have felt the brunt of investor wrath, and the Nasdaq is down 30% this year. A bear market is reached when a market is sold off more than 20%, and all the major indices have done that on Wall Street. It's all about fears that sharply rising inflation in the US will trigger much higher interest rates from the US Federal Reserve, and that will push the world's largest economy into recession. It really wasn't a very good news day today. That's it for the afternoon report for Tuesday, the 14th of June, 2022. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning for the Wednesday edition of Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.